But I'm also curious because we ended last week's podcast with Wolf with a dilemma that was posed by Slotty. It was a little time travel dilemma. And I want to revisit again with you because as Wolf and I were breaking it down, I was like, I can't not have this conversation with Justin. Like, I have to get his take on this because it's just too good. It's too good.
Yeah.
So
now, for full transparency, I have not listened to last week's episode, so
nice.
I don't know where you stand on this. I don't know where anyone. So I'm coming into this fresh.
All right, cool. So here is the question. The question is, and apologies for revisiting this, but fuck all you. This is about Justin and me. So here's the deal. You've got a pill in each hand, and your left hand is a red pill. And when you take this pill, you restart your life at the age of 10 with all of the knowledge that you have now. In your other hand, you have a blue pill. If you take this, you jump to 45 years old with $50 million in the bank. Based on that information, which pill would you take and why?
Okay. So we're going to talk this through.
Talk me through it, baby.
So as I was pondering this, my initial gut reaction, and I was very certain that I was going to go this way, until right now when you asked it to me again, and I was like, oh, wait a second, something I hadn't thought about. So I got to talk this through with you. My initial reaction when I was super certain yesterday was to take the red pill, go back to when I was 10 with the knowledge that I have up to this point. The reason, well, let me ask you a qualifying question with that. Do I go back to 1993?
You go back.
Am I 10 years old now?
You go back to when you were 10 years old. So you go back to 1993.
Got it. Okay, cool. Then I would do this. So initially I was like, done doing that. That's what it is. And the reason being, I'm like, I could have so much more than $45 million. So, or whatever it was, $50 million. My God, like, just be like, hey, mom, dad, I'd like to, I'd like to invest. I'm curious about this. Let's buy, I don't know, let's buy this thing Apple. And then just sit. Like, there's so many things that you could do to game that. Knowing what you're interested in now and starting that journey back then, and just there's so many different things that could set you on a path to set yourself up to holy God, and you've got all that extra time again, and you don't have to make the same mistakes that you made. There are definitely things in my life that I would love to retcon, and I would get the chance to do it. I'd be like, we're saying no to this thing because that was a bad idea, and to this day you still think back and it haunts you. Now, I was very certain of that, but that being said, there's no guarantee that if you do that, this podcast probably wouldn't exist. I wouldn't be married to my wife. I would never have met, Drew. There's a good chance that all of that all the stuff that's good in my life would be completely different or would not have happened. So. I had not thought of that because I was always thinking about was the financial returns. I'm like, oh my God, like I could go back and I could make 10 times the amount of money that I would have at 45. So with that, I am now I'm way less confident than I was. I'll say that.
Okay.
Now with those explanations, you said that you thought you knew how I was going to go. Did you? In my explanations or in my thinking through thus far, am I on track with where you thought I was going?
You've checked some boxes. Yeah. I'm gonna add a couple more boxes. I don't think you've fully taken into consideration. So
bring them on.
So part of the thing is the initial thought is like, oh yeah, I'll just go back in time. I'll invest in Amazon and life will be great.
Sure.
But what you don't realize is that you will be a child who is now trying to convince your parents to invest in something. And somehow you have this knowledge, and I wouldn't listen to my child who was 10 years old. It's like, Dad, you gotta invest in this thing.
But if your child came to you and just said, hey, they were talking about stocks and stuff, could we invest $100 in something? And then when they see that pay off in dividends, Then you start like I thought about that last night too.
It's
And I was like,
possible.
I feel like you could start. You have the time. You could start low, and get him and work it in there.
I would not be able to convince my parents of doing it. I'll tell you that right now. There's no way in hell I would have been able. My
Circumstantially, it was a different.
my
okay.
parents, no way, no how would they have ever listened to me do that. So that would have been 100% off the hill. Something else to consider: if you go back to when you're 10 years old, you have all the knowledge that you have now, but you are 10. You are 10 years old. You have a bedtime. You cannot drive. You have all these experiences, and you have to go. Justin, you're starting in 5th grade again, and you have to go back to school again.
True. But let me counter that.
Just
counter that,
please.
With if I have the knowledge of a 38-year-old, I'm pretty sure I can figure out how to sneak out. I'm pretty sure I can outsmart. Because you got to think: are your parents about that age? Are you coming into this with the knowledge of someone older than your parents?
Probably. Or you're roughly the same age.
It's far too much math for me to do. But
which is probably why you should go back, Justin, because you'll go through those math classes again. You'll get another chance, get another chance to go through it. What I'm saying, so your objective would be to skip school all the time?
Oh, yeah.
There's no way you get away with that.
I've done it, Doug.
Okay, perpetually? Yeah. You're going to have to get grades, Justin.
I'll figure it out.
You won't have a transcript? You're just somehow going to be like, you'd have to go through 5th grade, junior high, high school, all over again. But with what you have now, you'll have to deal with homecoming, prom, all that bullshit.
And you knew how it went before, and my God, wouldn't you love to game the system and change it?
I would be bored out of my fucking mind, Justin. I would be so bored.
Dude, you could run some sort of you could become the king of whatever school you were at. You know.
Whoopity-doo.
I'm just saying, man.
The king of Kirksville High School. Whoopity-doo.
Right. Hasn't that always been a dream of yours?
No, absolutely not. I would have to go back.
You can have fun with it.
It's just the idea of all of the freedom that I have now would get just ripped away from me.
True.
And I would be back in this 10-year-old body just going to fucking 5th grade, having to sit through all of this, having to talk to 5th graders with all the knowledge that I have now, trying to create those social connections. I'd be like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Well, here's an interesting, because I was just about to say, dude, you could level up. You would go back to 10 years old and you would trounce 5th graders. You would have at least a base knowledge of what you guys were covering. You would test up. You would probably skip ahead a couple grades. But as I'm saying that, I'm arguing against myself now. All those friendships that you had that you cherished when you were younger, you're leveling up, so you're getting out of those grades. So it really would be a different, a whole different.
Almost immediately, experience. As soon as you got back there, your path would slowly start diverging from originally what it would. Would it be really great to go back and sort of get one up on those pieces of shit, during that time? Absolutely. But there's no guarantee. If it's just about wealth, there's no guarantee that you're going to earn that wealth. And I would not sacrifice the opportunity to meet Jill and have Natalie. I absolutely would. So my theory on this, because a lot of people in our Discord were like, fuck that, I'm going back to 10 years old. Most of those folks were younger than us. Are younger than us. Okay. All right. Some of them are in their mid-20s.
Did they take the blue pill and now they're older than us?
Some are late 20s or whatever. I'm like, I'm 38. I'll be 39 in February. I'll jump ahead 6 years and take $50 million and retire. That's bye.
The only reason I struggle to say that is because you know my relationship with death and aging.
Yeah, dude, but for a cool $50 million, well, price to pay.
I don't know, man.
Well, the super shitty part for me is I skipped 6 years of Natalie's life.
That's true.
Natalie is almost 12 by the time this transaction is done. And I'm like, fuck, I miss all of that. But I also stopped working.
Buy those years back, man.
I stopped working and I retire. Immediately, I'm like, bye. I'm done with whatever I'm doing. Because
I think she goes from 5 to 12, right? Or 5 to... Where is she now?
She's almost 6. She'll be 6 in February. So,
cool. So let's say this deal didn't go through until February. You jump to 12. You still got time to devote your entire Like if you could, yeah, it would suck to miss those years, but if you're retiring, you can devote all your time to having those experience.
Yeah. It would, that sucks because,
I like what Tint says though, is crush both pills and mix them into a protein smoothie.
yeah.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah. So there's definitely some downsides to it, but the idea of at 38 having to go back 28 years versus if I'm 22, you're like, oh, you have to go back 12 years. I'm much more inclined to do that than jump ahead to 45 when I'm 22. It's like, no.
Who you're going to spend your life with, and if you haven't established whatever,
Someone was like, why would I give up the prime years of my life? And I was like, how do you know those are the prime years of your life? But you'll never know. So, but the point being that, I'm way closer to 45. I'm like, I'll take 6 years. No problem. I don't want to go back 28 and relive all that shit. Because the other question is like, what if another stipulation, addendum, was that you had to go through the exact same thing that you went through? Like, you had to follow the exact same course. Like, you go back to 10 and you come right back to where you were.
Well, then no, there'd be no purpose. I feel like that I feel like that poisons the game because there's no, or that taints the game. There's no reason to do. Like if you're gonna end up right back where you were and you don't have the power to affect any change, then what's the point in going back and
or maybe for a certain period of time you have to follow, like you follow the same path. Because I'm sitting there just thinking like, oh, you're telling me I have to go back to the hotel all over again? I was like, I don't want to do that.
Like, you don't have to, Doug.
It's like, I don't want to.
You're thinking of it in a very linear fashion.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
Have to, yeah.
I essentially was creating my own nightmare with that. I was like, cool, you can go back, and then you're knowing that I have to go to the hotel. It's like, you're gonna be here for 6 long years, buddy. Have fun, you know.
What I think would be, oh fuck, man, we might need to offline. Okay, I'm gonna start this right now. This is copyrighted idea, this IP that we're about to discuss, so no one take it. I think that works. It's like mailing yourself a letter. It's copyrighted.
Do a fart.
Right?
Do a fart noise. That makes it official.
There we go. Done. So, what a great tragic story to tell from a dramatic side is the person that chooses that red pill goes back, realizes too late that they might not meet the same their lives going to be a little screwed up, and then they do everything, they claw their way to try to have the exact same experiences, and things just keep going awry, and they keep getting further and further. They keep veering further off the path. I feel like that would be a really interesting, dramatic or tragic time travel story to tell.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Butterfly Effect, that movie. Ashton Kutcher.
Oh shit, I forgot about that movie. Does he try to get back to what is I can't even remember what that movie's about.
He's trying to have this great relationship with this girl, and he finds a way to be able to go back in time and affect certain events, but every time he does and comes back, it's a different outcome. And every time he goes back, he makes it more and more crazy. Worse. Yeah, he makes it worse. So, yeah.
The only thing I remember from that movie is the heavyset actor slamming his hand onto a one of the paper, the thing you used to put receipts on, or Ashton. Someone slammed their hand.
Yeah, he does that as a way to because he uses pain that allows him to sort of transfer back. So yeah,
that's the only thing I remember from that.
Yeah. So
okay, well that's cool.
Yeah.
Man, I guess. All right, you know what? You've convinced me. I guess because of my current age, I suppose I would take the blue pill. It would suck to jump forward in time and miss certain, because you have a kid, I would probably wake up and my dog would be gone, I would have missed any sort of, the other, whatever events, but it would be probably better in the end. It would probably be net better to take that blue pill, jump ahead 6 years, have 50 million in the bank, and then be like, cool, now let's have some fun.
Right. Now,
because the thing is, you're still young enough. I feel like times have changed. When we were younger and we looked at 45, it seemed ancient. Now I'm just like, I feel like ages have changed, man. Look at Clooney.
Yeah, right.
He's just rocking and rolling in his 60s.
Yeah, right. Crazy. Yeah. It's crazy. Well, cool. Thank you for exploring that with me. The whole time I was like, I got to come back. I got to come back and talk about this with Justin. So.
What I gotta ask, what was Slotty's? He brought it up, so I'm assuming he weighed in.
Actually, I don't remember what Sally's response was.
Slotty, if you're in the chat here, let us know.
I think I want to say I don't know. He didn't weigh in too much actually. So yeah, I'd be curious.
I mean, he's weighing in quite a bit on the chat. I'm just kind of going back and reading.
And I float this to the listener as well.
Like what he put here. Does your family have to get by on a single income during those 6 years that you jump forward?
I'm assuming you're not there, so
interesting.
Your family doesn't jump with you. So.
Yeah. Do they? Oh, here's another. You want to throw a little twist in there? Does your family feel like you've abandoned them? Are you gone for 6 years of their life, and so do you lose them in that time?
Question.
You know,
thing to consider.
Have they mourned you, and now you're coming back out of nowhere?
They're like, guess what? I got $50 million. Yeah.
And
big difference.
She's like, guess what? I've got a new husband.
Right. I moved on. So, yeah. Complications for sure. But, so to the listener, I pose this to you too. Reach out to us on our social medias at MindGap Podcast, or shoot us an email, mindgappodcast@gmail.com, or head into our Discord and weigh in. Let us know. What do you think? Would you take the red pill, take all the knowledge you have now and go back to your 10-year-old self and go from there? Or would you take the blue pill, go ahead to 45 years old and get that cool $50 million? What would you do? We've all fantasized about taking what we have now and going back to a moment in time, but which one would you commit to?